Recently on my podcast, I had Britt Arneson on, who's also known as Investor Girl Britt on Instagram. She's got a really big following, and she's actually the one who pushed me to go into social media way before I ever got a YouTube or a TikTok, and she encouraged me to just get started because she thought that it could really build my brand and help the businesses. And obviously she ended up being right, but in this clip, we kind of talk about that story as well as some of the best practices that you can use for social media to build your business, especially in the real estate space. She got started on social media a few years ago and has built a rental portfolio, and it's led to her being able to syndicate big storage buildings because of her brand. So if you're thinking about how you can build up your brand and you want to know what it's like getting started from scratch, this is a great clip for you.
I found Instagram, and I wasn't even really on Instagram before at all, but photos, videos, that's more my style. So I got on Instagram and just started posting like, hey, I found these cheap kitchen cabinets at Habitat for Humanity. Like, this is what I paid. And then I started posting a little bit more that way. But I knew I had to do something to build up my credibility and show what I was working on to get investors and things like that in the future.
Right. Well, and I think it was interesting is like, you know, you were one of the first people to really start, that I saw anyways, in the real estate space, putting out videos and content, right? Like it's way more popular now,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
with reels and everything else. Like everybody's putting out content. But, you know, I ended up meeting you in 2019 at the Maui Mastermind. And at the time, I think, I don't know how many followers you had on Instagram. Like maybe
Probably less than 100,000.
probably around 100 or something.
Something like that.
And to get to 100,000 on Instagram back then, the algorithm isn't what it is today where, you know, you can get some viral reels and they'll push you. Like, no, dude, it was super hard back then.
It is.
How did you go about building the following then?
Well, I think it was just consistency. And it wasn't easy. Even at the start, it took me a full year and I couldn't figure out how to get to 1,000 followers. I was like, why is this so hard? But then I think it really was just consistency and being vulnerable and actually showing the reality. And then people really could relate to that because they're like, wow, I'm having the same struggles Britt is having and she has this success, right? But then I actually show behind the scenes and actually what was going on.
Right. Yeah. And I think just seeing you, you know, fix up these houses and like just getting after it, you know, and like you didn't miss posting. Like you were just very consistent and it was a unique thing. Nobody, first off, let alone being a girl doing all of the construction, which is already rare in itself. But like guys and stuff weren't even doing that. Yeah. So it was cool seeing just like you were innovating before it was cool for Reels and TikTok to do, especially like with the time lapses and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to show the entire process in the easiest way because I was really busy. I was really trying to, and I was doing everything at this point too, like the property management, the bookkeeping and all of it. And then plus trying to film my videos and do the actual projects because I was renovating them for the house and I needed to get it rented out. So I was on a timeline. So I just set up my time lapse video and just do it, like do what I was doing and then film it. So it was easy content.
It wasn't extra work.
It wasn't extra work. I was already doing it. So setting up the camera was easy enough. Like it's harder for me to say, okay, this is exactly what you do and explain. Because I always wanted to do that too, get into YouTube and explain how to make a studio like this, you know?
Right.
But then that was so much extra work, it felt like, because I would have to explain to the people on the camera and all that. And I didn't feel I had that time. But I mean, I could start doing a little more of that now, but the time lapse was so easy.
You actually probably were a bigger catalyst, and I don't ever tell this story much about my social media career, but this was actually the very beginning of what kind of got me on the journey of social media. You know, I talk about how during COVID, you know, I looked at everything. I said, man, where's the world going? And it kind of became apparent to me that social media was huge. I was like, okay, YouTube's going to be really big. TikTok's going to be really big. I need to go all in on these. But what happened about 6 months before that was meeting you. And I remember, you know, in the mastermind, we had a little breakout groups and you and I were in a group. And, you know, basically, I don't remember what I said or the question I had, but you said basically, hey, I think you could make really good content and you could grow your following really fast if you just focused on it. And at the time, I didn't care. I was just like, yeah, you know, I'm really good at doing business. That's what I want to do. And you're like, yeah, but I think if you just focused on social media, it would really help your business. That would take you to the next level. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like you've grown your following. I'm just going to go out after this mastermind and I'm going to hire a videographer and start taking content seriously. And so my videographer, Sion, who's still with me today, was the first person I hired. You know, I made a post on Instagram. I said, hey, I'm looking for a videographer here in Vegas. If anyone's interested, hit me up. So he hits me up. And I'm like, I don't really know what we're doing, but just film me. And like, I'll come up with stuff to say. You know, we'll do like how-to stuff and we'll walk around some of my deals and whatever, right? And so I did that for a couple of months with him, but only for Instagram. You know, I didn't do it for YouTube. I wasn't even aware of TikTok. And then COVID hit, so then him and I stopped filming because we couldn't even see each other for a little bit. And then by the time I realized during the lockdown that I wanted to actually do it seriously, I realized my mind kind of switched. I said, you know what? I think Instagram's not what I should focus on. I think I should focus on YouTube and TikTok because that's where like the long term is. And then it ended up being good. And then Instagram finally changed their algorithm where it was like, hey, you know, we'll promote you if you post, you know, reels. And so then I was like, oh, Instagram's cool again.
Yeah.
But all that is to say, it's not like I just all of a sudden day one, you know, during COVID was like, yeah, social media is great. I had already been kind of thinking that and trying to experiment with it 6 months prior from what you said.
And it takes that time to build it up. And then, but you did such a good job with it. And then it was just like, you're everywhere. And it was just like, yes, I love it. And the different hair. I'm like, I need to start doing something with my hair. And like,
Yeah. What color are you thinking?
I don't know, maybe bright pink.
Pink is good.
Yeah.
That might be my next color, actually.
I like it.
Yeah.
We'll match.
Yeah.
And then start a business somehow.
Yeah, the pink hair duo. So, yeah, you know, we go from that mastermind. I go down this social media path. What were you doing during COVID?
Just the same stuff. COVID did not change much for me at all, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it did because after the mastermind, everything changed for me because I just started thinking so much differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, okay, a few years later, people that we met at that mastermind are now my partners. So AJ Osborne, for example.
Yep.
So we're partnering on these self-storage facilities. And you build these relationships and connections with people, and you could see it in the long term too. So I think like that's really important with going to these masterminds and different things like that and actually getting out there and meeting people because you never know what's going to come out of it even 2 years later. Like there's always connections that could be made. And I think that's so important in real estate.
Yeah. No, and AJ and I are doing some stuff together now too. And so it's just like, yeah, a lot of people from that mastermind, we end up crossing paths and then like it leads to some other things.
Yeah, exactly. And it only takes really one connection, one idea, one opportunity, and then to change really the course of your life. So it's just like, I think it's so important to get yourself out there like that. So it probably was maybe 6 months as well after our Maui mastermind. And I was trying to buy a self-storage facility on my own in Canada.
Okay.
And I was talking to AJ. It was a great deal. Everything was going well. And then AJ said, and I think I was trying to raise capital for this deal as well. It was still a smaller facility, but he said, why don't you put it out there on Instagram that you're looking for partnerships and people to come in on these deals with you? And I said, AJ, you know, I'm a single family person. No one's going to want to partner with me. That's what I thought. That's where my mindset was at that time. Mm-hmm. So I put it out there. Hey, anyone looking to partner on real estate, put your email here. I got 300 emails off of that one Instagram story. So then that got me thinking, okay, there's a lot of interest here, but I just wasn't thinking that way for so long. So then I started to really push it out there and then got tons of emails, started to gather a lot of investors. And then a few years down the line, like I started doing that for a while, which is also why I think everyone should start collecting information and all that and emails, I think specifically right off the bat, because having that data is really important. And then in the future, when you start to do email sequences and all that too, I think it's just great to have because I spent so many years just not collecting any information from my followers or people at all. So.
Thanks for watching that clip from the Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to see the full interview, you can actually find it in the link below. Make sure you also subscribed on both YouTube and Apple Podcast.